RadNet, a stronger and more connected community. It's a vision for a better future.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Garrett here from Born to Be Rad, and we have a really rad interview today. Guys, if you guys are fans of physical media, you want to be here and right now, because I have an exclusive interview with the co-founders of Anchor Bay, the current Anchor Bay that we heard about a month ago, that it was acquired and is coming back, which I think is huge for all physical media fans, boutique label fans, horror fans, and especially the old school fans who remember how important Anchor Bay really was to the horror genre when it came to physical media back in the DVD days and slightly into the Blu-ray days. And then, as we know, they kind of vanished. Well, guess what? They're coming back, and I want to find out tonight, I'm sure as all you guys want to, what's the plan here? What is the plan with Anchor Bay? Are they going to come in hot? Are they going to be the Anchor Bay that we remember? That is what I want to find out tonight. But before I bring our guests in, I want to see who is in the chat now. And like I said in my Instagram post, if you guys aren't following me at Born to Be Rad, I said, bring your questions because we are going to try to get to them, and they're ready to answer your questions along with mine. So make sure you guys are filling up that comment section. I'm going to do my best to get to as many of these questions for these guys as I can. But before we start that, I want to go through the chat right now, see who's here, and then I'll bring them in, and I want to hear their story and find out what's going on with the new Anchor Bay. All right. Who do we got in the house? Magic Hands is here. What is up, man? B Maggot in the house, dude. What's up, Musing Macabre? How are you? Phantasmat says, all aboard. I love it. Dynamite Tiger, rock and roll. Witch Hunter, what is up? This is going to be great. Yeah, I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. As you guys know, especially with me and the Dead Pit boys. I mean, guys, we've been touting Anchor Bay stuff since I've started YouTube, basically talking about old editions that we love, and we do Physical Media Hall of Fame. You see Anchor Bay stuff in there. So super excited to be able to talk to these guys tonight. Noise Loop, what's going on? Let's go. Don Morton is here. Horror Orman is here. Jay Borda, what's going on, man? Heck yeah. So many memories indeed. Andrew, what's going on? How are you? Shout out from Chesterfield Township, Michigan and New Baltimore. Hey, thank you so much. JW, all right. We will get to some of these questions as we go. Tom, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Brent is in the house. Nice. Guys, we have 40 people in here right now. Feel free to chime in and say what's up. But as we get to the conversation, I'm going to bring these boys in now, and I want to hear their story and how this kind of all came about. So we've got Tom and Brian, the co-founders of the new Anchor Bay. Dudes, welcome to the show.
What's up, Garrett?
What is going on? What is going on? Hold on, we got.
Oh wait, I was muted. Sorry. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, guys. Man, thank you guys so much for coming on here and doing this. I know you probably are so busy right now, but I was just so excited when this news was announced. I was like, I need to know more. And this is really your guys' first interview talking about this stuff and kind of breaking the silence on what's going on here with Anchor Bay, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
100%. All right. So let's break it down before we get into these questions, because I know people are going to be asking things left and right, but I want to hear the story. I heard it first from Deadline, and basically they broke the news that Anchor Bay was acquired by you guys. And I just want to know the story behind this, because as far as we knew, it was kind of long gone. It was acquired. And I want to hear the story of how you guys decided to bring this back, and your story when it comes to physical media.
So if I made time, can I just,
you can feel this one, Brian. I may chime in at the end. Go ahead.
There you go. Time is out to share, so it's good. So I guess a little background on our company. We have a couple different companies. We are our main company, Umbrella, is a film finance and production company. We've helped to finance and produce, 12 to 14 films. Some of them horror, some other genres. We also have a post-production house, a post house called Outpost X that Tom heads up. You can get into that later. It's actually Anchor Bay adjacent, so we can talk about more. And we always wanted to do the distribution. So do distribution of our business and get more into it. And one day, Tom and I don't know, where were we? I think we were in LA at a party. We were drinking. And I'm like, we need to get in distribution. Tom's like, you know what? He just sits there like this, and he's like, we should just buy Anchor Bay. We should just do Anchor Bay. And I said, can we do that? And he's like, I don't know. Let's check it out. And we did, and the trademark was available for acquisition and purchase. And then we just applied for it, and now here we are. So, and our goal with the distribution is, look, Tom's former Anchor Bay. I've always been Anchor Bay adjacent. Our goal as a distributor is to create something that's, look, we want to collaborate with filmmakers, give them a good experience that we haven't always gotten with some of the distributors we've worked with. Some of them have been awesome, but give them a good experience and actually just give a home to movies that maybe can't find a place out there, cult classics, horror, stuff that we like watching that we can have fun with. So I don't know, Tom, you want to chime in and build on that, or is that, would you say it's pretty accurate?
No, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. Going into, I don't want to go too far into my backstory right now, because I'm sure you have a lot of questions about that, Garrett. But my first job out of college was technically working at Hollywood Video. So that shows what a degree will get you. My second job out of college was working for the original Anchor Bay Entertainment. And when I got my foot in the door, I was literally getting mail and changing water coolers throughout the building.
But Tom, how did you get that job? How'd you get this?
Well, that's a fun story too. So Brian can elaborate on that in just a moment. But yes, Brian's cousin left the position and somewhat bequeathed it to me. And Brian's brother, believe it or not,
hold on before you go on. So he came to me first, said, do you want this job at Anchor Bay? I said, I'm taking off for something. I said, you know who'd be good for it? And my cousin says, Tom. So he's going to film school. We went to Hollywood Video, where we used to hang out all the time. We were video geeks, hanging out, talking about movies. Pitched Tom on the working at Anchor Bay. Says, that sounds fantastic. Took him down to the temp agency. He applied. He got in. And the thing that was holding him back was there was a drug test. Now, it was marijuana. It was no powders, no pills. It was nothing crazy. But at the time, now it's free everywhere. It's recreational now. But at the time, it was taboo. This is 2004, and he did not have clean pee. I also did not have clean pee, which I won't get into on this. I know it's being recorded live, but it's true. So we had to go find somebody. We went to my brother, who was also friends with Tom. And at the time, my brother, he's a decent friend, but he's very quid pro quo. He's like, what's in it for me? We had to convince him to pee in the cup. So he peed in the cup for Tom. Tom took it to the temp agency, and thus was born his career at Anchor Bay. Yes. And following that, every time we go to the bar, my brother would be like, hey, why don't you buy me a beer? And Tom would be like, come on, man. No, I peed in the cup for you, man. I gave you a career. So every time, sorry, I forgive me, man. Go ahead.
And no, it's absolutely true. And in a strange way, and a very real way, that jump-started my career. I started, you could not, the expression bottom of the totem pole, I don't think there is lower than where I started on this totem pole in terms of the jobs that I was doing. But I fortunately developed a lot of friends in the office that are still very, very close friends and part of this new incarnation today, which we could talk about in a little bit. But I kind of moved into this bizarre marketing capacity where I would go kind of globetrot to horror conventions and Comic-Cons and promote our titles, make sure our talent was taken care of, all this stuff. So, I turned that changing water cooler jug job into kind of a marketing position and kind of being involved in it. And then segued into being part of Anchor Bay's post-production team. So handling all of their physical releases, like the DVD authoring, all that fun stuff. And then, on certain titles and the exciting ones, mastering and restorations. And those are always kind of the fun things to do on the back end. But when we were talking about kind of branching into distribution as part of our company, I said, Anchor Bay has always been near and dear to my heart, both as a fan, but also as somebody who kind of got his crash course in film school working in the Anchor Bay office and raiding the supply closet and getting movies that I didn't know existed. And I consider myself to be a pretty educated guy at 24 in terms of like what movies I knew compared to other 24-year-olds. I certainly didn't know all the movies Anchor Bay had out. So, going through and being able to watch all that stuff and really gaining so many friends being part of that business, I've always just had a big affinity for the name. So when we kind of, tossed around this idea, I said, we should see if it's legally possible to acquire this. And as Brian pointed out, the trademark had been available. It was not renewed, and we were able to kind of swoop in there and get it.
That's a wild story, man, because it's not even like you guys were paying attention to it. It was just kind of like anybody at that point could have gotten that, right? Like if they searched for it and they really did some back work, who knows? I don't know if you guys know how long it was kind of available for, or if it was just kind of right place at the right time. Like, but that's what's kind of wild about it.
Yeah, it wasn't renewed for a while. It was put it this way. It wasn't renewed for a while, and we'll leave it at that. But yeah, listen, Garrett, we want to think of ourselves as smart and special, but you're probably right. Anybody could have gone in there and done it and grabbed the name. It's true. But
Right.
but I will say this, man. I'll give Tom all the credit. I think it was kind of genius. I'm like, really, this is going to work? Okay. And then everyone we told was like, dude, it's brilliant. And everyone we told wanted to, like, they why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that? Especially a lot of the old guard too. But everyone's been incredibly supportive, and it's been great, man. It's been awesome. So it's been very cool.
Yeah, man. I am so excited. I know a lot of people are. I think the biggest questions that people have are kind of like what to expect, because again, it's definitely a different landscape now than I think it was back then, when Anchor Bay was really, like, when it came to horror and, like you said, some of these obscure titles that we weren't normally seeing, like none of these mainstream horror stuff, but they were putting out things that, like, that's how I found out about a lot of horror movies. Was I remember if I could see that little logo on the bottom of the spine, I was snagging that movie off the shelf at the store, just to be like, I know it's going to be somewhat decent, because they never let me down when it comes to that. Like, I was learning a lot just through the logo of Anchor Bay being on some of these movies. And like I said, they were really the head honcho when it came to horror. And I guess you could look at them as kind of one of the first smaller labels / boutique labels that we see so much now. But there's so many now. There's so many labels out now, and these boutique labels that I feel are probably all fighting for the same stuff. So, digging deep with things like Vinegar Syndrome, TerrorVision, like, they're digging deep to find movies that, like, no one's ever heard of, and restoring them and putting them back out in these nice editions. Now, from you guys coming in kind of brand new, like, is there anything where, how do you feel you're going to compete with these other companies that have been doing it, that everybody's going to be trying to, snake some of these titles? And there's still a lot of titles out there. So, I mean, unless you have, maybe find the right people that can really find these things out and get in there that maybe these other companies don't have. But I think that's going to be the interesting thing is how would you think for you guys it's going to be to kind of get in here and try to get your name out there right away, with some of the original releases that you guys plan on taking? Have you guys thought about that, as far as like how many boutique labels are now, and how many? Sometimes we'll see all these labels like still all chasing the same movie. Like, all of a sudden Umbrella will put something out, and then all of a sudden we'll see Arrow put it out like 2 months later. And it's tough as a collector and stuff to kind of figure out, all right, which one should I get? And where do you guys kind of feel like you're going to fit in this mix?
Brian, do you want to take that, or you want me to start it off?
Oh, so the question is, just make sure, how are we going to compete with these other companies that are also competing for the same product and material in the market?
Yeah, just to kind of get some titles out there so people really open their eyes and say, wow, they're back, and it's cool, they're doing this, they're doing that. Like, it's like I said, I just think that there's a lot of competition now, and I feel like a lot of these companies seem like they're kind of competing with each other for different titles now. Where do you guys think that you can kind of come in and make a little bit of an impact?
Good question. I don't know, Tom. How do you? I have a couple thoughts. How do you?
I guess I'll kind of tee off on my initial thoughts, and this is not necessarily right or wrong, but this is kind of our guiding principle thus far, and how we've been looking at things. Is we're trying to look at a lot of these films, especially newer releases, that will become the classics of tomorrow, and we're trying to find movies that really have staying power in the marketplace that people will find 5, 6, 7 years from now down the line. And that's a lot of what we're looking at. As far as the catalog stuff, you raise an interesting point, Garrett. There's so many people that are really, really good at this. David Gregory at Severin is a friend of mine, and he's really skilled at it. His office kind of has, the war room, so to speak, of like these titles that he's going after and things like that. And it's also really hard, because a lot of times you ping on some of these catalog titles. If it's a studio that owns it, they immediately kind of say, well, wait, why do you want it? So maybe we're not seeing value in this. And now that you're seeing it, they suddenly do. Or there's other companies that are chasing it too. So without kind of revealing our entire business strategy going on the line, I think that we have some fresh ideas about some of the catalog stuff that we're looking at and looking into. But I think we're very, I don't want to say principled, but I can't really figure out a better word. I don't want to release something I don't want to release something just to release it and give fans another Blu-ray to buy, or to ask that question, what is this different than the Arrow release or something like that? it would only be if we had something positive to contribute to it.
Sure.
So if we were in a situation where, for example, we had access to, certain materials that other people didn't have, or it was a film that either hadn't been released with a pristine restoration. As Brian said, we do have the advantage of kind of having a built-in post operation, so we can do a lot of this high-end restoration on our own and internally with our staff. So, that's kind of what we're looking for. So far we've kind of come out of the gate with new releases, but the catalog stuff is very much on our radar and will kind of be unveiled shortly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You just saw Julia in the background, by the way. Julia is our assistant editor who's working on Dinner with Leatherface behind us as we speak. Speaking of new releases, so she's literally cutting in the background right now and assembling some of these files for Dinner with Leatherface. So anyway,
so you guys did bring up that you guys had kind of spoke about two things that you're working on: Dinner with Leatherface, which is one, and then the other one is a newer movie called Abruptio. Now, as a horror fan, maybe going into that, they look and they, all right, cool. We're always down for something Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's cool. Okay, we'll check that out. But what's this movie I've never heard of? It's new. I don't know about this. And I was lucky enough to see Abruptio, and I don't know how many people have seen that movie. And I was lucky enough to be at Panic Fest last year, where I think they debuted it for the first time. And I know they had some issues getting it out on like a physical media release or something, but after I saw that movie, I always thought to myself, like, then I just never heard about it again. Like a lot of these movies from Panic Fest, I started to see like, more about. They're coming out or more people talking about it. They're on streaming services. But this movie kind of just came and went. And I was like, well, that's so weird because that was such a cool, unique movie that like, I wonder when this thing is going to get released so other people can either talk about it or see it or whatever. So when I saw that you guys were going to release that first, I actually got excited because I think that is a movie, as weird as it is that something that it's like nothing I've ever seen before. And I think that it's just a cool one to have because I think, like you said, that could be a future classic, I think, just based on the whole concept of it, how it was made, what it's about, and even the people that are involved that, I think Sid Haig's involved. The guy, he's been gone for a couple of years now. So to just have this in your library, I think is really, really cool. And I don't know how you guys decided to acquire that. Was it one of those things like I said, when you saw it and you're like, wow, there's something different about this. And, we've got to get it out there so people can see it.
So
that's awesome.
I really appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
We feel the same way and felt the same way from seeing the movie. So taking it back full circle, old guard Anchor Bay, Ryan Hicks, who was in charge of marketing for horror and is still a very good friend of ours, actually put Abruptio on our radar and said, hey, you guys should look into this and check this out. And we did. We watched it and we said, okay. And oddly enough, I had trouble getting a hold of the filmmakers, just kind of finding their online presence. But Brian is kind of the master detective when it comes to that stuff. And he was able to reach out to them directly and said, hey, this is what we're doing with Anchor Bay. Do you want to be one of our first releases? And Evan and Carrie are like the coolest
awesome
people, and they're so easy to work with. They understand the vision of what we're trying to do, but also we're trying, as Brian said earlier, to be a supportive partner to filmmakers and bring stuff, the attention and appreciation that a movie like that, because it's so niche, might not otherwise find. And that includes, physical media, hopefully eventually special editions, a theatrical, things like that we're really, really trying to put our might behind. And, it's the first of, kind of several that we've announced so far that I really feel check those boxes. And the movies that we're looking for, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's like, we kind of know it when we see it, and it's something that is different, unique, and kind of genre bending in its own way. And that's the stuff that I guess just personally and professionally we're kind of gravitating towards.
Mm-hmm. So looking at, I know when you guys also acquired that, you had mentioned that the catalog that you guys once had is not technically available. Maybe there's things that you guys can take along the way or whatever, but there is still a lot out there that a lot of creators, myself and other people that collect this stuff, have made plenty of videos talking about movies that need upgrades that are lost on DVD. Now, I'm sure that there's probably been multiple companies trying to get their hands on a lot of these things, and there's obviously got to be some kind of obstacles on why these things have still never seen the light of day. Now, again, it would be amazing for all of a sudden a company like you to come back and try to figure out how you can get these things out, because no one else has seemed to be able to do it. And you talked about the old guard and having some people that you had worked with in the past kind of helping you guys out on these projects. And before we came on the show, I had mentioned the name Michael Felcher, who is somebody that, I've talked to before. He's really close with my buddies over at Dead Pit Radio. And we know that he's a guy that can kind of figure those things out, where things are, what's the deal with them, and obviously work on special features and all that stuff with them. And I know he's got a tight tie with Anchor Bay from the past. And you had mentioned that you did know Michael Felcher. Now, is he somebody that you could go to or possibly reach out to and be like, hey, like, we're looking to acquire a couple old classics. Like, can you help us figure out where these things are? What's their deal? Like, is he somebody that you would like to bring to the table because of his time with Anchor Bay and maybe helping out this new resurgence?
I will tell you a fun story about Michael just in general. He was this was years ago, and I think I mentioned this to you, but Michael and I kind of, we were ships passing in the night at Anchor Bay. He had left before I got hired there. But because it was such a tight-knit office, I got to know Michael over the years. But when he put out Monster Squad, he was the one who kind of figured it out. I shouldn't say put out Monster Squad. He figured out that Lionsgate owned it, and they didn't actually even know that they had the rights to it at that point. And he really pushed for the release on physical media. So, like, kind of one of my favorite gifts was when Michael, bequeathed me the DVD that he had just worked on with Monster Squad, which I've been waiting for DVD for years for. So that was fantastic. A very, very good colleague of ours reached out to Michael already prior to the press release. So he's kind of aware of what we're doing. He's somebody that is definitely on our radar that we would love to work with in the future. And like, listen, not just Michael, and I wouldn't limit it to him, but we kind of welcome these suggestions too. I mean, would you say that that's fair to say, Brian? If there's something that we should look into, I'm open to it. And I kind of keep my finger on the pulse anyway. And there's a handful of titles that I've looked into that, to your point, Garrett, there's a lot of entanglements at certain titles and things like that. But I love kind of fresh ideas, or maybe you guys should look into this one and things like that. So I kind of welcome that fan feedback, because I think that's kind of what made Anchor Bay great to begin with. So kind of bringing that into the fold. Listen, Brian and I are pretty easy to access. As Garrett, you reached out to us cold. So we're pretty accessible people. If somebody has an idea and they say, like, listen, you should really look into this movie, I kind of want to hear about it.
Yeah, I mean,
so also real quick, I'm sorry to Bill and Tom's answer also. So, getting the rights can be a little bit of a challenge, or you don't know who owns things. Like Tom pointed out before, some people may not even know they have them. Sometimes you have to negotiate with 2 or 3 parties to find out who actually owns the IP. I guess to simplify what Tom's saying, look, if there's a good deal and a good opportunity, we're definitely open to the conversation.
Sure.
And if somebody wants to work with us and they want to bring something to us, obviously we'll talk to them about it and see if we can make it work. That being said, though, we're also focused on bringing, not just like really on Abruptio, like you said before, but these movies, like you said before, have a difficult place that finding a home for the distribution, for release. Like you said, it's a film that you didn't know if anyone was going to see the light of day or be able to see. It's got Sid Haig, Jordan Peele, James Marsters, Robert Englund's in it. I mean, actually, it might be. Is it Sid Haig? I don't know if it's Sid Haig's last film or not.
It's his last official performance. Yeah.
Correct. So it's like there's this gem just sitting out there, like you didn't know if it was going to be released or not, and we were able to pick it up because people aren't seeing the value that we are, because this is the kind of film we want to make a home for and build our library with. That being said, though, open the catalog, open the physical media,
right,
and opening to bring out anything. It's a good deal. So sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean that's huge. I mean, it's and that's the thing. Anchor Bay was always kind of about that, right? Like they were about the classics from the 80s and 70s and all that. And And they also kind of brought a lot of newer things to the table as well. Movies that, I'm trying to just think like, I don't know. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like, what was it? Like Dorks of the Living Dead or whatever. Like there was just different things that they brought. Dead and Breakfast.
God,
like,
it was Night of the Living Dorks, but yes.
That's what it was. Yeah.
That's the first one that you jumped to.
I'm trying to think of like movies that I didn't know that like were kind of new that you guys just kind of put out. So, I mean, they always kind of did that, right? And they did create some movies that people kind of grew to love. And it was just like, I think it was the idea of, like I said, I didn't know anything about that movie, but I saw the little boat on the side and I said, all right, I'm going to check this out. And it happened to be like a newer movie. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good, And so it remained in the collection. So, I mean, like, I think that they've always kind of done this. So that's not really anything different, which I know a lot of people might be like, oh, no, you don't just do new indie movies, blah, blah. But it was kind of, that was kind of always part of I think, what Anchor Bay did as well. But another thing is when it comes to acquiring, obviously, movies, I don't know much about any of that stuff. So I know a lot of it comes really probably down to the dollar bill, right? I get a lot of it has to probably do with money and, who's got the most that's going to buy the rights to this. But at the same time, if you look at some of these titles and even some of these directors that probably still have access to these titles that they're holding on to, whatever, you bring the name Anchor Bay to the table and you say, hey, we worked with you before on this title. We released this title. Like, you wonder if just by name value alone, it would just at least pique somebody's interest based on the name, right? Like,
we hope.
I mean, it definitely gets your foot in the door. It definitely gets your foot in the door with some of these conversations, 100%.
Yeah.
I think, and like, I'm just taking this one from just because, again, I've been talking about this for a long time, and I had actually talked to him about it briefly on a podcast. Was like, for instance, like, we know Don Coscarelli is very, very, he loves his movies and he's not going to let anybody just take them. Like, he needs to make sure they're going to the right place. Now, I'm not saying that he does things all about money, because when you look at like things like Phantasm, like it's being put out now by a company that doesn't really do much other than a lot of Phantasm stuff. So it's not like he's going to the big wig companies with his films and be like, oh, give me, all this money to, like, he's kind of sticking to, I think, somebody that he trusts or whatever. But he also had a title that you guys did called Kenny and Company, which was not a horror movie. It was a coming of age story that is freaking fantastic. And I've been wanting to see that thing upgraded onto a Blu-ray or 4K forever. And it's just been gone. So I was lucky enough to be able to talk to him on a podcast and asked him about it. And he said to me, Disney took it. They were going to do something with it. It's now been buried at Disney because they acquired so much stuff since then. He's like, I'm trying to get it back. And from there, I don't know. But that was 3 years ago of him saying something like that. Does he have it back? I have no idea. But like something like that, where all of a sudden you go to the table and you say, Don, it's Anchor Bay. We put out Kenny and Company back in this era. Like, that could be something that he'd be like, oh yeah, like let's do it again, right? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, I think there's opportunity there, just based on, like you said, from name value. I think that there is probably opportunity for something like that. And but like you said, I don't want everybody in here. We've got about 90 people in here. So make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. And if you're not sub over to it. But you don't need 90 people messaging you after the stream privately and be like, do this, do that, right? So, I want to try to
I don't know. Maybe it'll be
because I'm sure it won't stop, right? But I mean, it's just like, I look at it as like, why isn't this out? And again, if it's acquired by Disney, it's acquired by Disney, but there's just so many other things out there that I think that people are holding on to, and maybe it's for the money or maybe it's for the principle. I don't know. And one of the big ones, and I'm sure we're going to see it like 1,000 times in here, is when you come to Anchor Bay, you think of a couple different movies. One of the movies you think of is going to be Dawn of the Dead, which is like, in the US is like, it hasn't been put out since like 06 or something like that, right? So, and it was from Anchor Bay. We put it out in 06, and they put out about, 6-7 other versions of it back in the DVD days, VHS days. Now, why that's not out now, we know that it's kind of being held up, and I'm sure everybody and their mother has been trying to get it. But like, that's another thing too, where like, imagine coming out of the gates and being like, all right, we're going to do Dawn. Like, that's huge. Like, but I don't know the ins and outs of that, but it's just the idea of like Anchor Bay just being the company that always worked with them. So, is that a foot in the door, perhaps, right? So it's just interesting to see, because there's such a legacy with the name itself that, it would be just cool to see, some things tried out and just to see if that things can get done that just for some reason haven't been able to get done up until now. But again, I could sit here all day and we can just yap movies about what you should put out. But again, I know there's a lot more to it. But it's just really, really cool to like I said, I think there is probably a lot of opportunity, and with the right people in play, I think that I think that would be this is going to be a pretty cool thing to see you guys kind of start poking your heads out in here. And I think I don't know, I'm excited. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Someone asked for Sleuth as we were in the chat.
I'll tell you kind of a funny story, and I won't reveal the name of the film because I'd probably get in trouble legally. But I reached out on a movie that honestly has never had a physical media release that I saw when I was really young. And I think I saw, physical media, I was on VHS, but beyond that, it didn't have DVD or Blu-ray. And I reached out to the director, and the director wrote back to me within minutes. The shitbag producer stole all my money and stole my film, yada, yada, yada. And I said, okay. And I even went so far, I could not find the producer, but I found out the woman that he married, and she had a very unique last name. So I reached out to the only person with that last name that I found on LinkedIn. And this person it happened to be her niece. And she said, well, it's my aunt. I could talk to her about it. I don't know anything about this movie, but I'll mention it to her. And the woman did call me, and she basically said, listen, I appreciate you reaching out. It's my husband's film. I have nothing to do with it. I will talk to him about it. And then he kind of came back to me and said, like, listen, or she came back to me and said this. They had a huge falling out. He'd rather sit on this thing until he dies, as opposed to giving the director any satisfaction. And I'm like, well, that's sad. I don't know how to fight with that. I mean, that's so vindictive and personal, which is why I can't reveal the name of the film. I'm sorry,
sure.
I know it's a tease.
But we hear this kind of stuff all the time that some people would like, I'd rather just sit on it, right? Yeah. And that's what sucks is like their legacy, and even if it's something that they didn't think was a success. I mean, a lot of these movies that are cult classics now, no one thought were going to be a success, right? So it is kind of crazy that people that put out something that somebody else wants to shine some light on would just kind of hold on to it for nothing. Like, yeah, it kind of boggles my mind.
Grudges are a bitch, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's those challenging conversations. But to your point, and we don't have to harbor on this too long. But Don's obviously been a big ally of Anchor Bay for years. I've had the good fortune to interact with him several times, and he's definitely somebody that if you're telling me we're re-releasing something like Kenny and Company and giving it the royal treatment, I'd like flip my top. So I'm totally about it. So if those opportunities present itself and we can make it work, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think again, maybe it's something that you guys have already talked about, but Don Coscarelli is actually pretty easy to get a hold of, surprisingly.
Yeah, he's pretty easy.
If he's got it, he'll know exactly where it is and what the deal is.
Yeah,
with it.
Right.
He's like, I don't know, I got it back, but it's just sitting here,
Yeah,
that would be cool, right? But who knows? But I'll throw in a couple questions now, really quick. Is that so? This is Dead Pit Radio, the guys that I do a lot of stuff with. They said, bring back the limited edition tins. Now, the one thing from Anchor Bay is that it's always was a little bit innovative with some of their releases. And I think that really spawned what we see with a lot of companies now, these different things like these hard boxes. Now, these hard boxes that have magnets that you can help open, like Vinegar Syndrome's doing, like all the different packaging stuff. Like I feel like, Anchor Bay were the first ones doing that. You had the Necronomicon sets with like the little books, you had tins, you had the Heather's Locker. I mean, there was so many different things they were doing back then. Once the ball starts rolling on this, I mean, if all of a sudden to come back and like, put something out in a something that simulates that limited edition tin would not be a bad idea, because we live in a world now where like everything is it's like nostalgia driven, right? So all of a sudden, like throwing a nod at like an old style that you guys used to do on like a release or two, I think would really get people excited. And I hate saying this, but packaging makes a huge difference in the physical media world now. Like, the movie could be one of the worst movies ever, but if it comes in a cool package, people are all over it, right? So I guess it's something to keep in mind when it comes to releasing stuff. Is like, if we can pretty the outside of this thing up a little bit, there's more chance that people are going to be interested than if it just comes out with just like a straight standard release with no slipcover or anything like that. Like that's kind of the world we're in right now. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying it is what it is. So, because it seems like a lot of companies are making a lot of money off of taking things that no one's heard of, prettying them up on the outside. And selling the shitload of them. So it is an interesting concept to keep in mind.
Yeah. So I'll kick it to Brian because I feel like I keep chiming in
You're fine, man. Go ahead.
Like on some of these things. But I'll tell you two things about this. First of all, just to answer that, we agree. So I don't want to, again, reveal too much about what we're doing in the future, but yes, packaging is something that's very much on our radar, in terms of what we're going to do to stylize our releases. And we've had a lot of, I think, very interesting conversations internally about what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
Funny note about the tins, and this is just a little inside baseball stuff. The reason Anchor Bay stopped doing them was one guy kept calling into the office and was such a pest because the tins didn't fit on his custom DVD shelf.
Oh, I mean, I was just going to say, if you do the tins again, make sure they at least stand straight. That's it. Just stand straight.
Was it you, Garrett? Were you the guy calling in? But it got to the point where the head honcho at that time, and I can't remember if it was Jay or whoever, but they were like, listen, we're not doing these anymore. I'm sick of this guy calling. It was one dude, and it like basically shut it down. So it's that was, again, that's kind of like it's not even bad. It's the interesting stuff, the good and the interesting that comes with being involved with a brand like this.
That was their one issue, though, right? Like, I mean, if you go, I just released a room library tour video yesterday. So if you guys haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's my movie library, and I go on all my shelves, and you see them at the top. You see all the tins, and they're all kind of standing up like this because there was with the lip, there was no way to do it. So if you look at it, you're like, that's why, because they're all.
And then the Wicker Man wooden one was even a little bit bigger. I think.
But that one at least stood straight because it had a nice flat bottom. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So I mean, again. Anchor Bay was always known for the packaging thing. Not every release had a cool package, but they had limited stuff and I think, again, like you said, it's more important now than it ever was. So the fact that you guys are taking into consideration, like, all right, how can we be unique on some of these titles or whatever, and the packaging itself, I think is fantastic. So because again, that to me, that was something Anchor Bay always was ahead of the curve on, was like something like the different stylized packaging and stuff like that. But now, no matter what you do, you got to at least make sure it can stay on the shelf. Fine. And then, that's about it.
Got it. Done.
Not too tall either,
We'll take that.
But it is funny too, because Dynamite Tiger asked this, and I'm a huge Corey Haim fan. I've been since I was a kid. And luckily I have Lucas and License to Drive on Blu-ray from Anchor Bay, but ever since they were bought, those movies are out of print and you can't get them anymore, and they're worth lots of money. So he says, I need a Lucas Blu-ray or 4K. Now, obviously, these couple of these Haim movies that are just gone now because I don't know who owns them. I'm assuming maybe Lionsgate, but it doesn't seem like anything's happening with these. So, it is one of those things too, where you start going back and looking at catalogs. And like you said, you might acquire like, hey, what's going on with this? And then it sparks interest. Why do you want that? So but these are just little things to think about, like that these movies now that Anchor Bay did do in not the distant past are just kind of long gone after they stopped producing stuff under that label. So it's definitely interesting to see, be like Corey Haim. And I don't know if it's I even thought, I was like, is it his mother? Like, why are none of his movies out? Watchers is not out. These other Lucas and License to Drive, they're gone. Fast Getaways, they're not out. Like, none of his stuff is available except like Silver Bullet, and The Lost Boys, obviously. But it's just an interesting thing. I'm like, is his mom holding on to all his films? Like, what's going on here?
That's a good question, Brian. Look into that.
I'll make a note of that, Tom. Thank you, Garrett. I'm going to put that in my list.
We want Anchor Bay to put out the Corey Haim collection. I think that's going to would be a hot seller right there.
You know what? I would do that. I mean, if we could get our hands on it, we definitely would. That and I think Tales from the Crypt has no owner, right? It hasn't been released yet, has it? Has it been released?
A lot of the Tales from the Crypts have not been released. Yeah,
that's my white whale. That's my white whale. If I can find that one, I'd love to put that out, man. Because there's nowhere, you can't stream it anywhere, you can't find it anywhere, you can't. There's no physical media for it. So sorry, go ahead. I'm going to try to.
No, I mean that's great to say. I mean, I did again, I'll send a link. We did some kind of fantasy box set video one time, and I made the Corey Haim collection so you can see the movies I have in there. I'll send it your way. Let me see. So again, Musing Macabre says Anchor Bay's catalog really got me into Italian horror and gialli back in the day. Still have several VHS tapes. I mean, you guys even looking at throwing some of that stuff back? Because I know you did mention that you were going to go overseas to try to find some films, right? at like
we
events?
did. We did, and we have. So we are looking at. We're looking into a lot of that stuff right now, and to go back to kind of what you said earlier, it's also what's been put out. Can we contribute anything new? Those are our kind of first two questions. And then we look at something, we say, okay, well, this hasn't been put out. Why has it not been put out? Like, what's the barriers? Is it because the elements are just so distorted and so bad that we can't even put out a usable item? But we've talked to several companies and to that commenter that made that comment. Same. I knew Dario Argento before I started at Anchor Bay, but I didn't know Fulci. I certainly didn't know Bava. Keep in mind, I was 24, so don't judge me. I was a young guy still. But that was how I learned about basically Italian horror cinema. Was being there. So I'm always kind of looking into those avenues.
I would love this, Phantasmat. Elves 4K. I've been trying to get someone to put out Elves for so damn long, but I don't know. There must be some kind of issue with it or something. But great 80s horror gem.
I'm gonna like maybe show my greenness here. I don't know if I know Elves, to be honest with you. So I'll make a note of it.
Yeah, Elves. It's funny because TerraVision put out the score and soundtrack recently, so I thought for sure, I'm like, okay, it's got to be coming because it's still stuck on VHS. So, but then sure enough, they haven't announced it at all, and that they put out the soundtrack and stuff a couple of years ago. So I'm like, I'm assuming there's got to be.
Oh, interesting. Okay, Dan Haggerty, huh? Okay, all right,
yeah.
I'm in. Okay, all right, yeah, we'll make a note on this one too.
All right, so
Dan Haggerty.
We're talking about Slip. Yeah, Dan. Yeah.
Is that Grizzly Adams?
Yeah. So it's cheesy, but it's fun as hell. I'll tell you that. It's
okay. All right.
And it's a Christmas horror movie, which is always kind of a good one. A lot of people are just throwing out like the Devil's X-rated cut 4K, body count 4K, Dan Curtis box set. Like people are just throwing out things that they like. So again, anything you guys see that you want to take notes on,
sure.
Let me see. People talking about.
Can we get the chat afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, so if you go and watch this video, you should be able to look at the live chat as it goes.
Okay, we'll be able to look at everything. Okay, yeah, we can't see it all streamed from where we're at right now, but we'll take a look at it.
All right, so he said the big question is, how many times do you plan on re-releasing Evil Dead and Army of Darkness when you get the rights? Who am I kidding? I'd probably buy them again anyway.
That's a good question. That was a funny thing at a horror convention too, when we were there and we had the ultimate edition of Evil Dead, and somebody walks up to the table and they said, "You're re-releasing this again? Why do you guys have to keep releasing this over and over again? Now I have to buy it." And I'm like, you just answered the question as to why they keep releasing it. I was like, if you stop buying it, they'll stop. I'm not the one making the decisions. I'm just here showing you what the package looks like. But
now do you want us all DM you for a refund on those Necronomicon sets that are like all falling apart now? Do we email you about that? Or
no, we're a new company. We're a brand new company. I would go with it. We're a brand new company. We don't own that. We don't own that. I don't know.
Necronomicon is you touch it and it falls apart.
I know. They didn't hold up so well.
Do you still have yours, Tom?
Actually, mine are good though. But you can see mine are on this shelf back here. They're both they're both perfect, but I can tell if I touch it, it's probably going to crumble. But so it's just sitting there. We're golden. But I know.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of your man cave there, Garrett. I shouldn't call it a man cave, but
you gotta watch the movie room tours. I got two videos. You get to see everything.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, that's a sleek off.
I watched that.
You did? Oh heck yeah, man. Here's two real good picks, and people are talking about if you guys can get Fright Night 2 somehow, game over for everybody. It's game over. I mean that's like one of the most sought after freaking titles ever, and it's like it almost came about a couple times this year and then it fell through, I guess, because it was kind of like it was stirring. Some people were talking about it, and I don't know what happened. I mean, even Tom Holland basically was saying it was coming. So I don't know.
We have a colleague, and when this was kind of germinating with us, I reached out to him and I said, give me your top 10. He gave me 25. But Fright Night 2 was on it as one of the things. He said, if you're trying to do this, I would go after that one. So that's one that's been floated out to us before.
Yeah, there's obviously some big issues with it. I don't know. There's rumors about certain things, but I mean, you wanna open some eyes as an early release. We can get Friday Night too. That'd be
under Paramount. Actually, who did that in the 2011 Friday Night? Wasn't it Disney or somebody? It was it Sony?
Well, the last I heard was that Lionsgate had it. That's the last I heard. Artisan had it, and then Lionsgate, I think, has it. As far as I know, the last I heard was Lionsgate had it. So whatever you want to do with that. But just say, you're just going to explain to them, be like, you guys obviously don't want to do anything with this. It's garbage. Just let us take it, and
You want me to come in? You know what? I'll come with a whole pitch for it. It's fine. We'll see. We got look, people you'd be surprised at his catalog. So actually, I have 2 callbacks and some catalog stuff today. But okay. I mean, look, put the ideas down. We'll see who's got it. We don't mind going out there and taking a look at it and seeing. I mean, look, we're open to whatever. We want to make this a company that people, a brand that people can learn to love in its new incarnation.
And here's the thing, man. Like, we're here. A lot of us collectors that have been around a long time, like, we're rooting for you, man, because I mean, this was huge to us, and you better freaking put that little logo there on the spine on the bottom, or I'm gonna be pissed. That needs to go at the spine at the bottom.
Make a note of that, Tom.
That's the plan. Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, so we're rooting for you guys too, guys. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if there's anything where you're like, hey, like the fans of this, the fans of that, like whatever you want to throw at us, we'll look at like that. That's so huge right now because it's gonna be a tough, a hill to climb coming in to a place where physical media, as much as at one end of the spectrum, it's like dying. It's not in stores anymore. At the other side, I've been doing this for so long. I'm like, I've never seen it as crazy as it is now. So it's like a weird, now it's like the collectors, the back to the old, the hardcore physical media fans and stuff like that's where it is now. And you could tell because all these companies now every edition come out is like technically a collector's-esque edition. It's like, you don't get a lot of just standard releases anymore. They knew who their audience is. So, how do you kind of, come in and make a little bit of a bump in an area that it's so hectic? I mean, that's, I think where the tough thing is, but, hearing that you guys are here is I think exciting me and a lot of the other physical media fans that were around back in the day where, all these memories were made with this brand and this label.
Well, hopefully we do it justice. We don't expect everybody to like everything that we do, but as long as they stay interested in what we're doing, that's what we're happy about.
Well said, Tom.
Well, another thing too is people are collectors, right? So having a company like Anchor Bay coming out now, a lot of these collectors, I'm sure, open their eyes and say, well, you know what? I want to try to collect all of these because I'm here from the beginning. And there's not a lot of times that happens, right? So a lot of these collections now, like for me, I've been doing it a long time. When Scream Factory came out, I was there at day one. So every time a new release came out, I would just get it. So then all of a sudden I was like, oh, well, I've got the whole collection. And people that came in a couple years after are like, oh man, like I can never go back and find those old editions. So coming in now with a new company, some of these collectors are going to be like, well, you know what? I'll figure out if they're good or not once I buy them because I just want to the start and see kind of, if all of a sudden I can get a complete 2024 Anchor Bay collection, like those are things that people think about, I think, in a collector's mindset. So you want to really get them too. You'll add a number on the side, the number like 1, the next one you do 2. That'll get people excited. They can't have a missing number in the shelf. That'd be bad. So, another one I'm sure you guys have heard, Strange Land is another one that's never been.
Oh yeah.
Get Dee Snider on the phone or something like that. Encino Man, I think that's Disney maybe. I don't know.
Encino Man is not out on physical
DVD.
Okay, all right. DVD.
Surprisingly, right? Yeah. Surprisingly, that thing is not.
All right.
Kenny and Company Survival Quest. That's right.
Oh, Survival Quest would be a good one. Yeah, Survival Quest is a good one.
Hunter's Blood and Blood Salvage. Hunter's Blood is another one I don't think has had any release since VHS, so that's another one.
Okay.
I'll say
if you want to put a list in, man, I'll make the calls, man. If you guys want to put a list, I'll tell the users on here right now. I'll make more work for myself. You guys put a list in, we'll make solid attempts to try and find them. How about that? Tom, would you say it's fair?
Brian's a bulldog. He gets people on the phone that I'm often surprised he gets on the phone. I have my one story about contacting the niece on LinkedIn. Brian's got 5 minutes a day, where he's like, I managed to get this person on the phone. So yeah, he'll get on it. He'll at least get a straight answer one way or another.
I love it. Well, let me just promote this really quick. All right, guys, we have 99 people in the chat right now. So hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Share this out to your socials right now. Let's get over 100 people in here before we have to bounce. Okay. Thank you guys, by the way, everybody who's in here.
Is that a good number, Garrett? Is based on your experience, or are we?
If I can get over 100
for radio.
Over 100 on my channel for a live is good, especially right now. Like I said, I don't usually go live until about 10, 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So this is very early for me. So the fact that there's people in here, and they actually might like it because a lot of these people are in bed by the time I go on. So they might be like, oh, finally, I get to see a live show here. So this is great, guys. We've got 98 now. So we lost one. Awesome.
I'm a new dad, so forgive me for the early time. So, so my wife gave me permission for tonight. She's like, oh no, of course go. But I don't want to give her a shout out. Hi, honey, love you.
We'll be on here for about 10 minutes, guys. We're gonna go about 10 more minutes on here. So get your questions in. I'm gonna scroll down really quick on here. I'm gonna just throw some things up. If I see a really good question, I'll have you guys expand on it. But
can I interject for 1 second? Is that okay?
Sure,
so we want to give a couple shout outs to some people have been supporting us, and also some of our titles coming up aside from Abruptio, if that's okay. So to Joelle, who's actually former Anchor Bay pre-stars, who's actually helping us out with some marketing too. Shout out to her. Bo Alter, who's been a supportive friend, who's been actually giving us some guidance and some things and support as well. And Tom, who else we got? You want to throw out some names here too?
Ryan Hicks, who I also name dropped earlier, but he was VP of horror marketing specifically, very good friend of ours, and kind of in it through thick and thin on this thing. So that's kind of who's been with us since we knocked around that idea over a night of beers, and heard about it. And Joel Christa, as you mentioned, and Mike Ortiz, who were the original graphics, part of the original graphics department back at Anchor Bay, and are doing a lot of our key art right now. So we're very happy to have them kind of in tow with us. So yeah, that's kind of our thing. And then, the titles, Brian, you want to cycle through other than Abrupt, which ones we've announced so far?
Abruptio, you guys already know about this. We've sung the praises. If you have a chance to, we're working on a release schedule for all these right now. We're doing theatrical release on these as well as streaming, and then also physical media, which we are doing physical media, so everyone can, it's cool. We're doing, and we've taken everyone's notes to heart here. So Abruptio for sure, and then also let's see what else. What has been released yet? And I want to make sure I don't say anything that's out of turn for.
So So I guess kind of one of our guidelines we looked at. We initially said fantasy, horror, sci-fi was kind of what our bread and butter was. There was one kind of small avant-garde indie film that kind of landed in my lap, which we haven't announced yet. But I just kind of fell in love with the movie, and I was like, well, if we're not taking a chance on movies like this, what are we doing in this game? So I kind of expanded it to be fantasy, horror, sci-fi, avant-garde, in terms of like what we're looking for in some
stuff we want to watch. Just stuff we want to watch. It's cool.
Yeah, stuff we want to watch. But we have Daddy, which is kind of a radical sci-fi comedy, which is very interesting, and it debuted at CineQuest last year. And Crust, which is Sean Whalen, who most people know from People Under the Stairs. It's his directorial debut, and it's a fantastic movie. And it's bizarre, it's quirky, it's fun, it's everything.
Great cast too. Excellent casting too. And then what Dinner with Leatherface we talked about, right? We talked about
Dinner with Leatherface. Yeah, Mike Callio's movie. Mike Callio released his first film through Anchor Bay, Hatred of a Minute, back in the day. So he's got this documentary on Gunner that we're putting together right now, and actually helping on the post side of it too. So yeah, this is kind of what we have teed up in here.
I'm going to give one last shout out. It's not for probably not for this audience, but I'll put it out there anyway because we are releasing. It's a the documentary about the Detroit garage rock scene in the early 2000s, late 90s. With I don't know if you're into the music scene or not. It's a great documentary shot by a close friend of ours, but it's got bands in it, the Von Bondis, the Henchmen, Electric Six, MC5, and some other people. So this is not a horror film. It's just another documentary we're putting out there, but something that could be a cult classic also. So if it's a cult classic status.
And what's interesting about that is then we'll kind of leave it to the questions, Garrett. I'm sorry, I know we're running up on time, but that might be our first expanse into vinyl releasing too. So we're looking into a vinyl component on some of these titles too. So that's kind of fun.
And that was called It Came from Detroit. So I'll put that up. Anyway.
So what's your timeline on your first physical media release? Do you have one on like what you guys are aiming for to get this thing out? And what would it be? Would it be Abruptio?
Yeah, more than likely. We do kind of have a release schedule mapped out. We're not quite ready to announce it yet. And the bottom line is we want to make sure it has the right runway and attention on theatrical before we completely lock in the dates. However, I will tell you just it without tipping our hand too much, we have a handful of horror films. Obviously, there's fall seasons coming up, so you can kind of pencil in the blanks with what we'd be targeting around that time. And also, It's the 50th anniversary of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if 51 doesn't mean anything, so if we don't release Leatherface this year, we've missed an opportunity. So we're in and around that area.
Okay, so you can say that things like Abruptio and Leatherface looks like the two big ones you guys want to try to get out this year.
Oh, yeah. I would say that's probably correct.
Yes,
yeah.
I would say that's
and
fair.
then also,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. So aside from we're also looking at doing merchandising, specifically a movie like Abruptio because of the puppets. There's an opportunity there. We're looking to see what that looks like, and we'll stay tuned for that one also. But yeah, that's those are the two for physical media for sure, and then to make sure to get them out before the end of the year. So, but we're finalizing our schedules here soon for everything.
Nice.
Nice.
Sorry, again, I'm excited for those two releases. I'll tell you that much. So I'm definitely on board when it comes to those two. Like I said, I was lucky enough to see Abruptio. So for me, I'm excited for this because it is something I've wanted to see again. And I think, love it or hate it, people are going to be like, that was one of the most bonkers things I've ever seen in my life. So I think it's definitely going to be
it's
one
an
that
awesome movie, man.
Yeah, that
It's
people are going to just want to have. And it's one of those movies that you want to show people, right? You want to show people and be like, because I still don't even understand how this thing was done. Like, it still boggles my mind. Because, I mean, I only saw it that one time, and it was at a debut in a theater. And I just remember looking over to my buddy and be like, dude, this is insane, right? Like, so, yeah, I'm super excited to be able to watch that thing again. It's been a while. But what I'll do is before we get out of here, I'll just kind of throw out. I'll try to skim through this chat. So again, if anybody has questions, now is your chance for Brian and Tom to answer them. I'm going to scroll through this, and then we're going to try to get out of here. So we've got people saying Midnight Ride, Step Farther 3. If you want me to stop any of these, you let me know. Trailer Park of Terror,
cool.
Sleuth. Let me see. Some people are saying, let me see.
Brian loves Sleuth.
I love Sleuth. That's a great
movie,
man.
There's other people out there that like it too, so that's great. Stuntman Mark, what's up, man? Quality titles and unique packaging to sort of get Anchor Bay back on the map with collectors as well as the attention of casual buyers for sure. Jay Borda, what I remember the most from Anchor Bay were the menus. They were great. What will be your approach on menus, as those are fond memory of buying them? Thank you.
Well, Bo Ulther will have. It will be very happy to read that comment if he's tuned into the chat still, because he was kind of the architect of those menus back in the day. Again, I don't think this is spilling too much. Same people that did the menus back in the day are doing the menus for us.
Oh, and also I forgot about the giveaways, Tom. So we are working on doing some giveaways of physical media as soon as we are able to release. Maybe we're gonna get some details filled out on that. So probably what did we say, like the first 10 Blu-rays of Abruptio? Is that what it was?
First 10 Blu-rays of Abruptio, and then Brian and Joelle had the unique suggestion earlier of me kind of opening up my collection, my personal collection, and seeing what actually came from the Anchor Bay storage room back in the day, and that I still have laying around. So I might be willing to part with them if it brings new fans into our initiative. So I'm going to look at what I have.
Stuff, did I say?
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a ton of shit too, man.
Now, is this your personal collection, or do you have boxes of like the same movie somewhere buried in there?
Both.
Oh boy.
Both.
How many copies of Manhunter do you need, Tom?
Right, exactly. It's like you can't. Anchor Bay couldn't sell Manhunter anymore. It was like get rid of like 200 DVDs. I'm like, well, I can't do that. They sat in my parents' garage for decades.
Who would have ever thought now you'd have an opportunity to do something with them, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it would have been sacrilege to just trash them.
I mean, let me ask you this though: are they sealed?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah.
No, but that's even better though.
Yeah. A lot of them are sealed. Specifically, I'll tell you, some of the ones I have sealed are, Maximum Overdrive, I got an opera in there, an old Army of Darkness, stuff like that. So some good ones in there.
That's cool, man. I think that's different, dude. I'm telling you.
You're staring at him right now, aren't you? Are you looking at him right now? Are you looking at him right now?
Garrett, this is so embarrassing. I'm literally looking at the photos my mom texted me. My mom's like, "This is what you have sitting in the box."
Put them up, man. Put them up on the camera, man. Let's see the photos, man. Let's take a look at this.
It's gonna say, "I love you, honey," on the bottom.
Tell your mom I said hi, though. She's a sweet woman.
We got Invaders from Mars in there.
Wow,
I'm sure everybody remembers
one.
that
I don't
one.
have that one.
Several copies of Maximum Overdrive. You could see they're in a stack together. Oh, the Wicker Man wooden box.
Very close to your right, too. Oh, perfect. There you go.
And what else do we have in this fun collection?
Let's skip over the good stuff. Share.
Yeah, that's kind of the good ones. Anchor Bay did this weird like cult fiction series. So I actually have that series. You want to talk about the numbers on the spine?
I need Class of '84 in that version. You got it?
Oh, I might have it here. If I find it, I'll send it to you. Oh, we got a limited edition Hellboy animated figure right here. Things like that. Oh, the Beyond tin in shrink wrap still. So that's kind of a fun one. And Doogie Howser.
I'm telling you that.
Anybody's
will be
excited
into that
about
stuff,
that,
man. I'm telling you, they'll see sealed because again, what's old is new again, right? Like vintage. Like these are things like just like I think VHS are back and everybody wants VHS tapes. You get them sealed even better for a lot of these collectors. I think DVDs just on the tail of that. I mean, because it goes in cycles. I think it's DVDs are going to be the next thing that more people are going to be. Oh, I remember that. I'd love to have that edition. And oh wow, I can get it sealed in mint condition. Like that's great. Like I think there is something there. So if you guys have that where you're doing either giveaways or you have a website and all of a sudden you can buy Manhunter sealed or whatever from 2000 or 1999, people might be like, I'm gonna get that too sealed.
I don't know if we could sell it. We can give it away. Let me put it
give it away.
I'd be okay. I feel a little ethically wrong selling it.
You're gonna give them away. I think that's even better though.
But I don't mind giving them away. In fact, if somebody's going to enjoy it more and it brings us more fans, at this point I value more people that are appreciative of the brand and looking into what we're doing than the trophy on my shelf. I got a lot of trophies.
We got okay. So I think we're starting marketing. So Joel was saying. So look. People can register on our website and any one of our social media platforms once, and we're going to do some kind of giveaway drawing of some kind. So I got to figure. I'm butchering this thing completely. We can send out more information another time when we have more. We get more details on it. But
giveaways. We'll loop you in. We'll loop you into. Garrett.
So how about this? Follow Anchor Bay Entertainment on Twitter or X and Instagram. How's that? That's step one.
That's great. And then our website's also.
And I'll have all their stuff in the comments below in the description where you can find them and see what they're up to. And I'm sure they'll kind of keep us updated on things that they're doing over there through Instagram. Instagram's an easy way to do it. You post on there, it shows up on people's feeds. They know exactly what's going on. So
that'd be awesome. That's great. And then actually someone here mentioned the crazy. So here's a weird, probably not that interesting of a story. So Tom and I used to live together in LA for a little while when he was working, doing posts for Anchor Bay. And so he would come home. First of all, our bookshelf, we talk about the custom, like all the custom DVD boxes he had. We had a custom bookshelf in the living room just filled with all his memorabilia, his old cameras, all like the DVDs. But he used to bring home the movies that he was authoring at the time. So we'd watch them before they'd hit anywhere. So we watched The Crazies, I Spit on Your Grave remake. We did watch was it Letter In? Or what was the American one? Was it Letter In? Was it Let the Right One In?
Let Me In.
Letter In.
The remake.
Let Me In.
Frozen with one of the Ashmore brothers for that.
Frozen. We had that in there too. Yeah.
We used to have like every movie night. He'd be like, hey, wait, what'd you bring home tonight? He had something he was like, he was authoring. So we would sit around watching it. It was fun. It's good. But I
love it.
Yeah, it was good. Man. It was a good time. Sorry. I just saw Crazies on there. It made me think. And what was the other one with Jimmy Fox and what was it? Gerard Butler. That was that Overture? The prison one.
Yeah, when Overture came in and they were kind of the studio component of Anchor Bay, they did like what was that?
Solitary Man.
Law-abiding Citizen.
Man, that's a good movie though. Law-abiding Citizen.
Yeah. Overture was like a very, very short-lived studio partner of Anchor Bay, but they actually in my opinion, produced some good stuff. They had some good things out there for a while.
Was that Money Monster? Right. Was that them too? Or
that wasn't them. Yeah, they did Men Who Stare at Goats, the Clooney movie. Hi, Joel.
What's up, Joel? You plugged the giveaway, Joel. So just
Jesse Moore says License to Drive.
I'd love that. That's one of my
That'd be
faves.
cool.
So
yeah, somebody says they think Fox took Lose back. Demolition High, that's another Corey Haim flick. I think
that was
still
Greg. Greg
VHS.
also worked with us at Anchor Bay, who said he talked about Lucas. Hi, Greg.
What's up, Greg?
Greg's a good friend too. Very loyal Anchor Bay. It's nice that we're getting some old familiar faces tuning into this.
That is
makes
cool.
Makes
Definitely.
Me happy.
They're asking, what is Anchor Bay's feeling about elevated horror from new filmmakers?
Hi, Ethan.
Hi,
Ethan. Hi, Ethan.
Ethan, another friend of ours, very talented writer director.
I'm sure he's laughing right now as this is pulled up.
I'm sure he is. No, he's great. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, Ethan, to answer your question, and I feel like you kind of know this, but it's good to share to the audience. It's kind of what we're looking for. I don't love, this is so nitpicking. Like, I know, like elevated horror. I feel like everybody keeps telling Brian and we're looking for elevated horror. I'm like, I don't know exactly what that means. Like, to me, like, I mean, I've watched cult movies that like, I think like, I'm like, this seems elevated to me, but my wife would disagree that Killer Clowns from Outer Space is an elevated horror.
Yeah, no, I think that the term elevated horror now is almost like it makes you really think, and there's like, there's no real clear-cut answer on a lot of things. Like, I think it's one of those things where it's like you gotta really think about it when it's over and be like, wait, what's my interpretation of this movie and why did it do this? And then someone else might have a different interpretation of it, right? Like,
exactly.
I think it's one of those like more artsy horror stuff that we're seeing a lot more now, but you're saying that a lot of people that you in the industry right now are looking for that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, but I don't, and I'm not trying to knock anybody personally, but they say that and I don't really know what they're looking for. Like they say, well, elevated horror. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, I've seen a lot of smart horror movies that that I know you've passed on. So like, what exactly are you looking for? I guess to answer your question, Ethan, specifically, kind of what it is, I mean, what I kind of like are things that, and this is just personally speaking, I like things that are genre reflective, but also genre bending. I like movies that know what came before it, but are also taking it to someplace new, but aren't pigeonholed as like one specific thing. So, and I think in some ways that's an elevated movie and an elevated horror film. But, I think horror's been smart for decades, and elevated to the point where you can have a deep discourse on it for decades. But yeah, I mean, that's our feeling. I mean, Ethan, let's make a movie.
I like werewolves. Tom likes all others. So I
like werewolves. Yeah, I like werewolves. I mean, cool. Yeah, listen, I'm pretty open. And here's the thing. If it's done well, I'll probably warm up to it.
Hey, here's a question. Was Warlock ever released on DVD or Blu-ray? Yeah,
Warlock, Lionsgate put it out. Blu-ray. They did the whole collection, yeah. But this one hasn't. Gleaming the Cube, a lot of people bring it up.
Gleaming the Cube.
that has nothing since DVD, since VHS, I think.
Will we do it under Gleaming the Cube or the TV title A Brother's Justice?
Whatever works. Whatever works. And then Greg also says he's very proud of you guys.
Oh, thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. Proud of you too, brother. We'll keep the conversation going.
Nightlife is another one that I've been hearing about for years that doesn't have anything since VHS. No one seemed to have gotten that one yet. Don't know much about it. Necronomicon prototypes had them in the back. And some of them fused together.
Love that. Fantastic.
She wants a refund.
Or sell, or we'll auction off the fused together ones, Joel. A big pile of Necronomicons, from the Anchor Bay vaults.
That is so funny. Yeah, Chris says if they number the spines, look out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see. Sorry guys, there's just so much. I'm so behind now. Do you guys have a website yet? Someone asked.
Yes. anchorbay-ent.com, and it's being fully developed right now, but there is a page up currently. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joel.
Another one, Out of Bounds with Michael.
Out of Bounds.
Anthony Michael Hall is a great one that for some reason is not anywhere. I don't know why.
I love that movie. That's a good suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the Dark with Karen Black. Relentless with Judd Nelson.
No, I like that one too. Bill probably has that though, doesn't he?
Who you talking to? Me?
I'm talking to all you guys. Well, I mean, I guess the group collective, but like, I would think Lustig would have the rights to Relentless, but maybe he doesn't.
Call him. We got
there we go.
Alien Nation needs a good Blu-ray release. I like that movie a lot. Another Day in Paradise, James Woods.
Oh, that'd be a good 4K. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Here's another one that everybody always talks about. Rumpelstiltskin is still stuck.
Oh,
I mean, that's probably Lionsgate. I mean, it was Artisan. I know that. And I don't know. I think they took that line, I believe. Now they're talking about what about the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre from Netflix? There's no physical media release for that thing yet. If
I will tell. This is probably a spoiler, but I doubt we'll be able to get that one. Tapping into the Netflix zeitgeist is a hard one, but we can try.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's easier to go through Netflix or by somebody who maybe was involved with making it or whatever. But I mean, I guess that would be a pretty good little get because again, it doesn't seem like that is anything that's going to ever be put out. I mean, there's no rumblings of it. And I know, collectors, they're missing a Texas Chainsaw movie out of their collection. They're like, well, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah.
How can I not have this sitting next to the other one? So
yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yeah. Here's one I've been talking about for years. Summer Camp Nightmare is like a movie that I absolutely love. It's an 80s movie. It takes place at a summer camp. And I don't know the issue with it. I'm thinking maybe music. I don't know. But a very, very cool one to check out. This is only on VHS and it did get released. They did announce a DVD back in the day because I pre-ordered it and then it got canceled and no one ever heard about it again.
Initial release, April 17th, 1987, Brian, was the initial release of Summer Camp Nightmare.
Who bought Concord, I guess? It's Corman's picture, so whoever owns New World, but probably owns Concord too. That's interesting. Huh.
That's a really good movie. Very, very good. My Pet Monster live action.
I love My Pet Monster. It's a great movie.
I had the VHS of that back in the day.
All right, now we touched upon this, but I don't know if you guys know anything about it. Do you know anything about what's going on with Dawn of the Dead here in the U.S.?
Nothing. I know nothing about it. I mean, it's something that I'd love to kick the tires on, but I don't know. I wish I had some info for you.
So
My Pet Monster, man. That's a good idea. Sorry, go ahead.
That's a very good idea.
I stopped eating for a day to see if I can turn it. Sorry, go ahead. I'm messing around.
Freaked is the one that Anchor Bay did on Blu-ray, guys. I own it, but I think it was like right at the tail end of the Anchor Bay stuff, so it came and went. But I know that is one that a lot of people still talk about to this day. It seems like not a lot of people were able to snag it, so that's definitely one. I don't know where it could be, but that's a good one. Near Dark is another one people are wondering what's going on with. Anchor Bay put out that really nice edition back in the day. And if there's any way to get your hands on Near Dark and almost take that old edition and basically do the same thing, but in an upgraded format, I think it'd be freaking killer.
Yeah, it would probably be
throwback.
Yeah.
Blood Beach, another one. Nobody knows what's going on with that.
Yeah.
The Keep.
The Keep.
Oh, this is one I talk about all the time. Run with Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I love that movie.
That's a fun. Kelly Preston.
Yes, and you wonder why. Like that was a theatrical release. I mean, I don't know why that just is still stuck on VHS. It's Patrick Dempsey, Kelly Preston,
and one of the great end deaths when the guy gets killed by the automated rabbit on the racetrack is fantastic.
And it's very action packed too, and that's what's so interesting is it's like it's a really action packed movie, and I'm surprised it's just I don't know what the issue is with it, but and then the last ones I'll talk about here is The Jerky Boys, 1995, has never gotten a DVD or Blu-ray. I mean, I'm sure if you guys remember the Jerky Boys craze and when that thing came out. Again, I don't know why that hasn't come out, but it's another to think about. Something different, something random. But
Alan Alda, was Alan Alda in that movie? Am I recalling correctly?
Alan Arkin was in it, and Tom Jones playing himself.
He just passed away, though. Alan Arkin just passed away, though. So that would be a nice get. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. It's just late for me.
But I mean, again, these I just want to throw these up here. If you go back and rewatch this stream, like I said, you'll be able to look at the chat and you can probably scroll through. I pulled up a lot of the ones too. So if you go back and check this out, you can at least just look at all the ones I flashed on the screen and make notes.
Dude, Mighty Max, what a great idea, dude. Sorry, I fucking love Mighty Max. Wait, what about
what are you looking at, Brian, that I can't see? Are you
the chat, bro?
He can see the chat. Can you not?
The chat.
Oh my God! So I was in the private chat, and I just learned now that there's this whole comment section. Oh, fantastic!
Can't find me loving Loverboy. Haven't been out.
No, just DVD. Yeah,
that'd be good. That plus Rum would be a nice little Patrick Dempsey set, dude. You had all three right there. It's good.
Patrick Dempsey collection right next to the Corey Haim collection.
Oh, dude, that would be front and center in my collection. Those two. I'll tell you.
Great. Nevermore with Judd Nelson. How about that
So.
one?
I mean, there's cool things to think about, guys. And I know you've probably got 1,000 things on your plate, but I mean, it's always good to kind of see what could be out there, right? Like you said, you didn't think Anchor Bay was out there, and you got it, right? So, I mean, you never know. Like, some of these things could just be kind of flying under the radar for some of these people. Maybe
I'll make a phone call, man. I'll reach out, man. It's fine. We definitely give it a whirl. Why not?
Any of these titles named, I think is just. Again, it's a nice way to get somebody new's foot back in the door, and I think with the name Anchor Bay, at least people will listen when you call, because I think everybody out there probably knows, and especially like a lot of these titles are stuff that you guys had worked with in the past. Near Dark, I mean, these are all movies that had previously been on Anchor Bay at some point. But yeah, I mean, I think Anchor Bay. I mean, I think Near Dark. I think the last people that put it out was Lionsgate, I think, as well.
Oh, I'm sure they own it, dude. Still, yeah.
So,
that's Kevin Bigelow,
again,
right?
It's just sitting there. Like, I don't know. It's been a long time since anybody's seen it. So, but guys, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on here and doing this. It's been super fun. Cool getting to know you guys. I mean, you guys have great personalities. You're easy to talk to. I think that Anchor Bay is in good hands. Now, if anything, I know you guys have kind of dropped a little bit of thing, but if things on us, if there's any exclusive thing you want to say now that you can, feel free to throw it out there when it has to do with any releases or anything you guys have in store that maybe you haven't talked about yet that you can't say. I would love to hear it.
I'm sure we're going to kick ourselves after we get off the calls. We'll be like, oh, we should have said that.
And actually, in the interest, maybe this is the nicest way to say it. I would love to give you an exclusive, Garrett, but because we try to have a lot of respect for the filmmakers that we're working with, before I drop an exclusive, I would like to make sure that they're cool with where we're dropping the exclusive first. So after this, and I'm embarrassed to say I didn't even necessarily think about that before this call or this podcast, but like, I will talk to some of the people that are kind of in our orbit, and if we can even maybe bring them on to talk to you or whatever, set up something in the future.
Man. I mean,
if you're open to it,
even if there's any exclusive like packaging ideas. If there's exclusive anything
okay,
like
can I give you a couple of ideas that I have? First of all, I'll tell you that the numbering thing.
Hey, Top's part of our master plan. You can't do that. It's fine. Go ahead.
I will tell you that the numbering thing isn't. It has been on my radar as well. And how I would group certain things by numbering, but I also kind of had an idea about some spines that might have a very, very subtle thing put into it, like each year of releases that would fall into these categories might have a drawing that unites them together on the shelf and actually creates a piece of artwork like that.
Collectors like that.
Yes. And that's one thing that we've thought of collectively in terms of how I'd like to see on the packaging shelves and things that I'd like to see. As Brian said too, like some of my favorite stuff from Anchor Bay that I still have are like, the little stained glass thing from Suspiria. It's just a piece of stained glass on a little thing that sits on your desk. I love little things like that, or the Reanimator highlighter, stuff like that. Oh yeah. And I love how that Reanimator package incorporated the highlighter into the package, where it was like him holding the syringe, but it was the highlighter. I kind of want to see more of that, but also see things that are like practical, where you can remove the highlighter but also put it back for display. I mean, things like that. So these are kind of ideas that we're knocking around.
Did you guys do the I think it was Anchor Bay. Did you guys do the hatchet one with the little hatchet keychain that was in the package too? I think it was like a Best Buy exclusive or something like that. And it was like it almost really resembled that Reanimator one. Yeah.
Greg, if he's still in the chat, probably knows something about that. He can chime in. But yeah, I believe we did do. I mean, I know we did that, and I remember at the horror conventions we had. and I had boxes of these for a while too. Hatchet knife sharpeners for the longest time. It was the craziest thing. Of all the little things to give away at a convention, we had these knife sharpeners that said hatchet on it. But it was cool. And so that was some of the most fun stuff that I worked on. And even Ryan, this was a real basic thing, but when I first started going to conventions with Ryan Hicks, he had these like trading cards, but it would be like our quarters releases, and they were all numbered and they were free. You could come to the booth and pick them up, but they were basically trading cards, and it was like kind of this, it was almost like kind of the cover, but done in a trading card way. And the back was kind of the back of the box, so to speak, but they were numbered 1 through 12. And it was what we did through the quarter. And I just thought it was such a cool collector's promotional tool,
For sure. And then, like I said, I think it's a collector's game out there right now. And all this kind of stuff seems really cool. And I think people are going to be into it for sure. And guys, again, thank you so much for coming on here. I'm sure you're probably going to be asked to come on a lot of other people's stuff. So hopefully we're able to touch upon a lot of it today. And I'd be happy to do more stuff with you guys as the ball starts to roll. You want to come on and promote some stuff. I mean, the channel's only going to get bigger, and I think that the people really are going to like this conversation to kind of see what's in store for this beloved label that people have so much nostalgia and memories with. So I can't thank you guys enough for coming on and talking with me. And guys in the chat, thank you all for checking this out live. All their Instagram and X will be in the description below. You can go check them out. Don't go crazy on their DMs, but they said if you have any ideas, you can reach out or whatnot. So definitely give them a follow. And guys, thank you so much for checking this out. This is Garrett at Born to Be Rad, and like always, stay rad.